What's going on, guys? It's Red Wolf Gaming 808 here, back with what I guess you consider would be the finale of the Shadow of the Erdtree playthrough with Chaos X Gorgon, my brother. This one is going to be just a little bit of a review and discussion. So we're just going to be talking about the DLC. We have a couple questions, and then we'll do a little bit of free talking, and that'll be it. Alright, so to start off, I'll go ahead and just say, what was your favorite area in the entirety of Elden Ring, DLC and non-DLC included?
Area, I would say, even though it was very annoying, my favorite area had to be the Madness area. Just because it gave an even more sense of danger because you could not use your horse. And it just looked cool.
Yeah, I definitely think that it was a cool place, and a lot of people complained that you couldn't use your horse, but I mean, I think that was one of the coolest things they did. Like, it really added to the atmosphere of it. And
I do think, though, that the Watcher thing should have been able to be killed in some way.
you can kill it. You have to parry it first.
Oh, you have to parry it?
You have to parry it, then it can be killed.
Oh, so you said unconventional methods before, so that's all it was. And
Well, they have to parry that one-shot move.
Right.
And then it's really not even worth it.
Well, it is when
they drop an item, but yeah, but I don't think it was that bad of an area. But my favorite area would have to be the Dragon's Pit, or like the Path to Bale. I think, like, specifically that new Dragon Communion area. That I can't get that dragon on the map out of my head. I mean, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I wish they would have told us a bit more about it. So, because instead of just having a giant dead dragon there.
Well, we messed up. There's actually something else that was included in that area. That dragon. There's two dragon forms actually. So there's the one that we got, and there's another dragon form that you can obtain. So the one that we got is by trading in that priestess heart. Well, that apparently the priestess is actually there at the Dragon Communion if we go there before we fight Bale, and then she like gives you a special thing. I can't remember what it is exactly, but she's got her own little tiny quest line.
Okay, so that's kind of do on our own. Find out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do it at this point.
Yeah, I'd have to do a whole new playthrough. Which, good thing is I am on New Game, ready to go to New Game Plus 9, but that's after I learn everything about this. But so was that it with the question? Was it just best area?
Yep.
Okay. So my first question: what spells / incantations do you think are overpowered / underpowered? I'd say just kind of give a top 3 of each,
I'd have to say just spells, or does that include Ash of War as well?
No Ash of War. This is spells and incantations, so this is faith / magic. Counting dragon.
I haven't delved too much into the magic side of it yet. I do have a character I'm working on. I just got to the DLC with him, and I'm going to be getting all the spells so I can terrorize the locals. What do you think about that? I think Bale's like bone attack, the one that I got,
his finger,
I think that one,
essentially the finger attack.
Yeah, I think that could have been a lot better. I mean, like, it's really cool looking, but it rarely hits when you need it to.
It's too slow of a wind
PvP.
Yeah, it's too slow of a wind up, and you can easily get caught with it.
Yeah, but it's
I
a really cool
have
move. But I just
I
think
have a clip where I used the grab right after. It's pretty terrible of a move.
Yeah, it's pretty good in terms of the way it looks, though. But
right.
I just wish they made it a little bit different. Let's see.
Probably have a little bit more tracking to it or something. maybe
Yeah,
something you had to knock them
or
out of
maybe like a
before.
side slash or like a uppercut kind of thing, rather than just slamming into the ground in a single point, because it tends
Right.
to be very easy to evade in PvP.
Yeah, or they could have probably given it an AoE, like a big AoE, because it's not like there's not a lot of moves that have massive AoEs. Like look at Mesmer's Flame.
Yeah, I really like that. That's my favorite spell. Um, but on the other hand, I would say that that one fireball that you put in front of you and then it shoots at people, that thing is too OP only for the fact that it can be spammed so easily.
Oh yeah, Fire Serpent.
Yeah. That
Like
thing is...
I have to switch over to. I'm switching over to it, and like I was like, I gotta get up for this.
Yeah, it's... That is very easily spammed, and if you spam it right, you can catch people in a dodge every time. Or in a roll. You can roll catch people every time with it, and I think it's pretty insane.
Yeah, there's a dagger that kind of works the same way, where it, like you throw it up and it spins and then goes flying at the person. I don't think it does as much damage, but yeah, those tracking moves are pretty broken.
But I think most of the new stuff is pretty balanced. Like the layered rings of light, it stops. Like it only goes in a straight line. It's not tracking. If it was really tracking, it would suck. But most of the new stuff, I think it's pretty balanced. When it comes to the weapons, though, I think that's a little different.
Right. Like I'm gonna be honest. There's this one that I have. It's called. Do you know what Land of Shadow is?
I don't think so.
Alright, I'm gonna go over here and use it so it doesn't hit you. You're watching?
Yep.
So.
Oh, interesting. I don't even have that.
That's, you don't have it because that's where you have to fight the giant dandelion. That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah, I still gotta go fight that. That's a sunflower, but...
It's sunflower, whatever, dandelion. It's dead anyway. But yeah, that move is kind of lackluster. It's like, you know, Elden Stars 2.0 in a way.
It doesn't track?
It does to an
if you lock
extent, but it's so easy to, you know, get out of it. And the wind up is a bit, you know, it's, I don't know. The problem is that there's certain things like Elden Stars is only good really in a gank fight. This would be only really good in the gank fight because if you fight somebody head on, they're probably going to cut you in half by the time you finish your animation.
Yeah, I tend to think that.
But
Mesmer's Flame Orb.
Broken. That thing is OP as all crap. That is, but like.
It's very fair though. Like if you're facing away from somebody when you activate it, you're not hitting them. It doesn't track like that. It doesn't like immediately turn you around and then you go.
Well, it is a massive circle AoE though. That is the big upside with it. And then if you
But I will say it's hard to capitalize off of it. I've noticed like it's very easy for people once they get, because they get blasted away and then they can heal. But it does like at least 1200 damage every time.
Yes and no. Like, yeah, it does blast them away, but it's you don't really want to use it as an initiator. You want to use it as a finisher to put, because it staggers if you land on top of them, and then it just blows people up. You just can't get away from it at that point. The bad ones, I'm gonna be honest. There's, you know, the butterflies are pretty terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of wish the Lord of Frenzied Flame one, like, it's cool, but
you should have got his beam.
Yeah, they should have given the beam. Like
that
would have been
really cool.
Because the way the Lord of the Frenzied Flame one is right now, like, it gives so much madness, and like, yeah, you can walk, but at the same point, why would you use that over, you know, unrelenting, you know, whatever, and the unrelenting frenzy? The only difference is that you can stop on a dime.
With that being said, my next question would be, was there any moves or weapons that you saw an enemy or boss use that you wish you could have gotten?
I don't.
For
Well,
me,
there was.
definitely Midra's Beam. That was definitely one. I wish I would have had that. And then specifically, I would say, that one attack wrecked me from the Horde Knights. They have like, I don't know if it's a spell or if it's their Ashen War, and I don't know if you even can get it or not. But they like shoot dragon heads across the ground, and it does a lot of
Oh
damage.
yeah, I saw that thing. Yeah, that was when we were running through the madness area, and you were like, "What are those things?"
Yeah, that is a pretty cool attack. I wish we would have gotten that. And if it is in the game, I don't know.
Oh
I didn't get it.
yeah, one thing to say that was also weak that should have been buffed, that should have been better, was the spiking incantation that we had. You know, the little porcupine thing. Plus, I think
Yeah, but those
they should have
crucible
given.
spells have always not been very good.
Well, they should have probably either changed it or also given us another spell, which essentially turned us into, you know, allowed us to do that forward spin attack, and you know, make it more of a, you know, kind of like how the thorn armor, where you're rolling into people, but you would do it and it would essentially like cheese grate somebody.
There's
That's
actually
what
a spell that adds thorns to your body,
I have.
and then you can roll into people. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that one. Weapon really there, one that I wanted. There wasn't really anyone I would say that I kind of wanted, because you know I don't know. It's kind of hard to think of one because there was so many weapons and that there wasn't many that you couldn't get.
Right.
I think a cool one would have been is there was incantation that or whatever, where when you're going up on, you know, to the final boss of Radahn and all that, where people are like, there's those guys that were sitting there and they had those essentially miniature Miquella's giant circle thing, and it would just like kind of stagger your character and do some damage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool to have, where you could have essentially had your character, you know, you could have kept clicking the button before they got up, and you would have like a little bit of time in between to keep summoning them. That would have been a cool one, but I could see how that would be absolutely annoying in a gang fight too.
Yeah. What's your next question?
All right. What boss was the most disappointing to see and fight? Now, you know, this can either be an either or. It's just, you know, or it could be both of them apply.
Okay, I'm gonna add my question to that because one of my questions is, was there any boss that you didn't like, and what would you like to be different? So my thing was, I liked most of the bosses, but I think the Putrescent Knight, I think he could have been a little bit cooler. That was the guy down in front of St. Trina. I think he could have looked a bit cooler. He was kind of lackluster in terms of like being an intimidating boss. Like he was really disappointing for being way down at the very end of that place. Like it was kind of just a lackluster ending of that area.
Yeah. The putrid. You're talking about that one that was on the horse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Yeah, he was kind of lackluster for me.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I would say that for me, personally, the one that, you know, I don't know. For me, my problem is that the hippo was one that I was just kind of like, come on, FromSoft, really. But
Well, I don't know what the hippo represents, but there is four of them, and they all
really,
drop fragments.
It didn't make any sense to why it was there as a boss.
Yeah,
and
it didn't.
Like, it was definitely fun. It was just odd. The one that I would say was probably the most disappointing to me, And like, I'm gonna be honest, I have to think it was Radahn for me. I just, and I know people are like, would be like, oh, but Radahn looks cooler. I'm like, but like, come on, I didn't even think Radahn was even that cool in the base game. Like, I know a lot of people love him, but
I did like him, but
I thought that it was just like, it was cool to see him actually not on his horse. Like, it was kind of cool to see him actually how he would fight if he was actually at
like
full
younger
strength.
Radahn.
But it would have been a lot cooler if he actually just kind of fought on his own the whole time instead of now we get him there.
Well, if you add the story to it, it was really cool.
I'm gonna get to the story later. Don't worry. One of my questions is my answer is gonna be around the story because I just did not like Radahn being the final boss. I think. To me personally, I think it would have been cooler to have Radahn be like some side one, like the Frenzied Flame dude, and have the Frenzied Flame guy as the final boss.
That's what I thought would have been cooler. But in the terms of Radahn being the final boss, I thought it was going to be that you fight Radahn and then you fight Mikola. I thought that's how it was going to be.
See, that
I didn't think it was going to be together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just... The way they did it was, I don't know, Radahn just isn't that cool of a boss in my opinion.
Or it would have been cool. It'd have been cool if like you fight Radahn and then he does fall over, but then he powers up himself, goes into phase 2, and then you kill him in phase 2, and then something happens where like Mikola comes out and absorbs his power and then starts to use some of his moves, or the whole idea of the story is that, from the sound of it, it's we kill Radahn in the base game. Mikola takes his soul and puts it in Moke's body to resurrect him, and then that becomes younger Radahn. So what if she entered Radahn's dead body to resurrect Radahn again and make him even more strong and badass? That would have been, either way, that would have been cool. But I do agree with you that there should have been a little bit more to it, or maybe just a different boss.
In a way, it shouldn't have been, you have to fight Needle Knight, what's her face, and then it's Radahn. It should have been probably like Radahn.
Like Radahn, and then you go up to
cool.
Mikola.
Yeah, it should have. Yeah, then Mikola would have been the big bad fight. That's how it should have gone. Because then
cool.
You could have justified bringing Radahn back in a cool way with the story, but the way it did, it just seems a bit rushed. You really don't know much of this thing with, the consort or any of it.
I wouldn't say it's really rushed. If I did look into the lore a little bit, and that's why I was saying that. Like, the lore is pretty concrete. It's a pretty straightforward story.
That's my problem, is people say, oh, the lore, but the problem is you have to pretty much search the lore. It's not like, it doesn't give you that much of a
true,
good...
But
like
if
cool
you were just talking about just walking
thing.
through the game, if you're just talking about just walking through the game, then I agree with you. But
yeah, that's what
once
I'm
you start
about.
looking into it, it makes sense.
You have to look at it through that standpoint of, somebody didn't look into every little thing. So, this whole thing of randomly Radahn's there and there's something about a consort, it's just like, what? That's the problem that Elden Ring has, that a lot of story, FromSoft stories have, is that you can never argue story because story implies that people have had to, looked into it.
Yeah, but I will say that when I first, because obviously Radahn got spoiled for me before I even got to him, but as soon as I found out about Radahn being in the DLC, I was kind of just disappointed that anything from the base game was in the DLC. Like a fucking pixel from the base game was in the DLC. I was pissed off. I was like, man, and he's a main boss. Like, I already don't kill him.
Main boss becomes final boss, and yeah, it's cool you get a new form, but like, you got a new form and stuff, but it wasn't
will say,
cool enough.
His new weapon, I mean, I hadn't even used it, but his new weapon should have been cooler. I don't like the fact that they were both magic-based. I think there should have been a magic-based one and a faith-based one where you could use, like, Mikola's moveset. Maybe give it the Ash of War where he, jumps up in the air and like instant transmission attacks you like 3 times and then comes down a final time.
Right.
Where he's like blinking at you and then hits you. I think that would have been really cool. But next question. So if you could put any 2 bosses against each other from the DLC, or even not from the DLC if you'd rather that, what 2 bosses would you pick?
I'm gonna be honest. If what would be an entertaining fight would probably be Old Radon versus New Radon.
That would be pretty cool. Unfortunately, I think New Radon would whip his ass, but it depends. Like, because if you add lore into it, if they're both lore accurate, Radon is holding back a meteor shower. So what if he just decides to just smack Consort Radon with that meteor shower that he's holding back?
Right.
There's not much. I mean, that's like getting hit with a spirit bomb right there.
But the other one I think would be an interesting one would be to actually do Radon versus the Elden Beast.
That would be really cool too. Mine was Bale versus Placidusax both at full power. Cause that's the story. The lore is Bale fought Placidusax and Placidusax was biting him around his neck, and then Bale, with like the last breath of his power, took off and ripped off the heads of Placidusax, and they're still stuck to his neck, and you can actually see them.
Yeah, to be honest, that should
that
have been a
fight
cutscene
full
after
power
you
would
beat
have been cool.
Bale. At least New Game Plus after you or at least have something where you had to kill Placidusax in the base game, and then after you kill Bale, then there's this that if you have them both killed, then you could see a cutscene of them actually fighting. Because I think that'd be a cool cutscene for them to do.
Maybe like Egon explains it to you.
Right, and it goes in like a backstory.
It goes into a flashback. Yeah, that'd be fucking sick. That would be absolutely sick. So what's your next question?
So mine is, what do you think about the PvP in the game after the DLC?
What do I think of the PvP? Some of the weapons are broken, I will say, like... Let's see here. This is stupid broken in PvP.
Oh yeah, that is gross.
This is the hardest Ash of War to evade, especially the poke. You almost always get hit by the poke. I love spamming this on people, and the fact that this does bleed is crazy. I don't know if I felt like it was a glitch at first, and then obviously this is the best Ash of War to come out of the DLC. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, that was...
You can grab 2 people at the same time with this thing, which obviously is not supposed to happen, but
yeah,
I think PvP's definitely changed quite a lot. We have boss moves. Like it's not just like,
I'm gonna say
it's not just this.
Right. Like, I'm gonna
It's
say
like
this.
I can use the boss's attack.
The best, well, it's so easy to evade, but I'm gonna say for me
Sure,
personally,
but it looks badass.
I think it's worse in terms of based on whose build you're fighting. If you're fighting a strength build, it's always fun to fight a strength build because there's not really an annoying strength build. Magic builds have got they're definitely got some really strong abilities to them, but
they're very spammy.
They're very spammy, but they're also still, once you get close to them, they become dang near, they're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
Frenzy is better now since they've, changed around it, but, the weapons in Frenzied and all that, to have a Frenzy build, which is more of a faith build in a way, it's, Frenzy's is fun, it's not broken, it really hasn't been broken since early in the game where grab used to just completely obliterate anybody. But
yeah, a full madness build. If you're just dedicated to madness, it's good and it's very strong. But some of the moves, like once your opponent is out of that move, they're out of that move.
Right. It's not as, it's not. Well, they're pretty balanced. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people argue that it's not, but it's like, if you're arguing it's not, it's because you're standing in that move too damn long. Like,
Yeah, and if they really want to take advantage of you, they could evade your frenzy and then
right, you just have to back up
hit you with
enough.
and then hit you with some form of madness to hit your bar all the way up, and then could run up and hit you.
Right.
Like, if like a madness build versus a madness build, that might be the hardest fight.
Yeah, those are
just
fun though.
constantly getting stunned.
But the biggest problem is Dex/Bleed. And like, what I mainly mean with the Dex is that you will see people that will sit in PvP and do that stupid dash attack that you can like double dash and just annihilate people. That move
The fact that people spam shit.
Well, that move in general just needs a heavy nerf. Like, there's no reason you should be able to cut through 2 people with 1 attack. Like,
3 people. If there's 3 people, you can kill all 3.
Right. Well, like magic doing that is fair enough, because usually the magic that does that, you have quite a big window, and if you get hit with that, that's your own fault. But this attack, it's so hard to dodge, and then you got to think the problem with bleed is that if you're not, this is kind of with any status effect, but if you do not have, if you're desyncing, you will not take the damage, but you'll still take the bleed stack.
Yeah.
And it is honestly just, that dash attack needs a hefty nerf, and I think what they need to start doing is, if you spam a Ash of War, like the same one, over and over and over again, when somebody is PvP, when PvP is activated, essentially when the multiplayer is activated, it consumes more stamina or more FP based on a percentage up to something. Essentially it would start
like
at 10%.
An extra 5.
Yeah, with like 5 or 10, and then it would go up to like 25, 30%, where if you keep spamming it, you're going to be out of resources in no time. Because usually those Ashes of War, you can spam so much because it takes no FP. And that's an issue. If you got something that can 2-shot like that, that should be taking like 1/4 of your whole bar. Like, that should be taking a lot of FP,
Right.
Alright, your next question?
So,
or you got something else to say with that?
So my last question.
That's your last?
So well, yeah, one of them went into yours.
Oh,
So
yeah.
do you think the DLC was significantly harder than the base game, or do you think we just didn't have enough Scadutree fragments? I'll say first, I think it was a simple mechanic, and the fragments were mostly right in front of you as you went along. Bale was the hardest boss I've ever fought, but I think that was because we didn't have enough fragments. Bale was harder than the Nameless King the first time I fought the Nameless King. But I think if we had more Scadutree fragments, we probably would have been doing a little bit better down there.
Right.
We just went the harder route.
Well, the tree fragments increase your damage too. By the time you hit 20, you're doing like double damage. And
as your damage negation.
Well, yeah, but here's the problem with the Erdtree fragment things, because this actually this is going to go with my question of, which was one of my next ones. It wasn't my next one, but it was one of them where it was honest thoughts on the fragment levels. The fragments were garbage, and the reason why is because it was unlike in the base game where there was a lot of leftover golden seeds and stuff for you to use even through one playthrough. It's literally there's 50 in the game, and you need all 50 for those 20 levels. Democracy was explaining this when I was watching this video, and I agree. That is, like, unless you search every nook and cranny and find and know exactly every enemy, you're not going to get all 20 levels. So having it be where it uses up all 50, like, at that point, why not just remove the Erdtree fragment things and just keep it how the normal game was?
Well, either that, Or I'd say maybe if they added them to the boss drops. So like say when you uh, fight Renala, you end up, or whatever the hell her name is. Renala, Rolana, same thing.
Yeah.
I guess. But when you fight that boss, say she drops 5 fragments, and then you fight Mesmer, he drops 5. Fight Gaius, he drops 5. That way, as you progress through the DLC, you're strong enough for the next area.
It doesn't even have to be 5. What it should have been is just like,
Well, yeah, but
it only took like 35 throughout the game to be maxed out, and then, you could trade in Erdtree fragments for, special spells or something, so people could essentially do a challenge where they could get these special spells, but they would be stuck at Erdtree level 1. But make it where obviously you couldn't do that until, probably after you beat Mesmer, which you're already using the fragments for your levels anyway. Just make it where there was some left over, for whatever you want to do, whether it even just be souls you get after that,
Well, the challenge runs are already starting. There's a guy giving away $10,000 if you
I saw that.
beat Shadow of the Erdtree at level 1 with no Scadutree fragments used.
Right, and you have to use DLC weapons.
Yep, and DLC only weapons. I'd like to take a crack at it, but man.
Isn't his
maybe at level 120.
I don't know.
Maybe level 50, 75 or something. You can't even use anything. Like
at level 1, the problem is that that's you have to be just perfect with timing, and obviously there's going to be no summons, or else you can just stand back and be like, "Go ahead, guys, just do it for me."
Hey, you never said there was no summons.
Because if there's no summons, then it's super easy, because there's a build to beat Radahn like he's nothing.
But to be fair, you would only be able to use NPC summons because there ain't nobody else level 1.
Right.
Because you can only summon up to level 25. So.
True. Alright,
do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I've got actually a couple still here. So, because you said 8 originally, so that's what I was kind of going off of, but I went for 7. Okay. What was the DLC lacking? Truly lacking in just the whole entirety of it, not anything specific. What do you think was lacking in the DLC?
I don't think anything. I was pretty happy with it. All the areas were very well designed and beautiful. I know a lot of people complain that there wasn't enough in the areas, but I mean, you pull up to just about any grace along the way of the main story of the DLC, and there's 2-3 people standing there, and there's always some sort of interaction with some NPC, and especially look at like the dragon area. They could have not added so many dragons.
Yeah, the dragons were a bit excessive, but I'm gonna be honest with me.
Well,
I think
I'm not saying that they're excessive. I'm saying that if there was less, it would have been a problem. Like there was like just the perfect amount of enemies and NPCs throughout. The only area I would have maybe been disappointed by was the ancient ruins of Ruah, or however it's pronounced. That maybe didn't have enough in it, but the rest of it was pretty cool.
See, I think that I think there should have been more NPC stories. Like, it just didn't feel like there was enough NPC stories, and what I mean by that is, mainly likable characters. You had Needle Knight Leda, but it wasn't like, Alexander. Alexander was such a cool character. All the characters.
A lot of the NPCs had stories. We missed a lot of them.
Well, they just felt so bland, is what I'm saying. Is that it just, there wasn't a enemy like, a boss, or not boss, but an NPC like Alexander in here. None of them that was like,
Blide.
Yeah, no, like you had people would, could say, you had, I already forgot his name, but the guy with Bale.
Egon.
Yeah, Egon. So like Egon was like, he was cool, but it was like there wasn't, they didn't even add patches in here. It would have been cool to have patches and do something
ridiculous
cool. In it. But like it seems like the characters were not as good as in the original. There was no point in, there wasn't real. The only time you do their stories is if you want something from them. Like even when you
Yeah.
talk about the cathedral where you have to go down to fight the Mother of Fingers, it's like the character, like the priest guy was cool, but it really just it didn't hit anything anywhere because the character wasn't cool enough. His story wasn't interesting enough.
Right.
It was just kind of a little vague, and that's all it was.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there was no NPC that made me be like, damn, I gotta find out where that guy's at.
right, that was the issue. Is that you only after you figure out after, then you're like, man, now I need to do this because I need this item. It's
Right.
not like with Alexander where you're like, you learn after that, if you didn't do his story correctly and all, like getting his shard, but it's like you're just not like, man, this is a cool NPC. Because Egon, the first time you see him, he's just like broken and crying, and the only time he sounds cool is when you summon him, where that's when he sounds cool. It's the only time he sounds cool to me.
It's actually somebody made a video where they were walking past him, and the title of the video is like, just trying to play Elden Ring while some NPCs over there busting a nut. Because when you first meet him, he's just going,
It's just that's messed up.
I mean, come on, man.
But it's just.
But I would say that they've always had some weird shit like that. There's always some
It's
sort of
fine to have
like,
weird stuff, but not enough cool characters. Is what I'm saying. Like
yeah,
there was
Egon was definitely cool, but
there was a
other than
bunch of pots down in like those goals. It's like you couldn't have added another, like the pot that didn't say anything, the big one. Like there was a little area.
that,
It was like you didn't.
I was
that you
wondering
couldn't-
about Alexander. Oh, I guess if he did his storyline, he's dead.
You know what would have been cool too well, Alexander wouldn't have been in there anyway, but it would have
Yeah,
been
'cause
cool
he's
if like there was like one of the flesh things that come out of those pots. If one of them actually was sane and there was some storyline with him.
Yeah, yeah,
You
because
know-
those are America's people.
Like it would have been cool if they did more with NPCs.
Yeah.
All right, next thing I have, because you don't have any more questions, right?
No.
Okay. If you could change anything, what would you change? Like anything at all? Is that a hard one?
Yeah, because I mean, I was pretty happy with it. I really wouldn't change much.
I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm gonna go with what I originally said, where I would switch just where Radon is and the Frenzied Flame guy, because
I was gonna say I'd maybe add to the Frenzy Flame area. Maybe
that
add
would
some.
yeah.
I'd maybe
that would
take
make-
out those Watchers and add some sort of different type of enemy that's more worth actually interacting with and trying to fight and kill. Some sort of like,
Probably add
and
more
maybe if they
bosses.
added
Couple
some
more
more madness.
bosses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe another, maybe like a gatekeeper for him, like a frenzy gatekeeper, or like you said before, a frenzy dragon. Frenzy flame dragon would have been really cool.
That would have been
I would have-
badass, like a dragon that got madness, and it would use.
Yeah,
and
he's got
instead
the
of just
madness
a
eyes.
yeah, it had frenzy lightning or something. A frenzy bolt and
Oh.
stuff.
Speaking of frenzy lightning, that is one thing I would have wished to have seen. Was that attack that Bale does, where that was the first time that I was like, oh, fire lightning, that's cool, because it's just like ancient dragon lightning strike, except it's fire lightning. But instead we got the two moves that we got from him. I would have hoped
Like,
to see
yeah, I
an
don't get why his
incantation
roar
that
would
was
be like
ancient
that.
dragon lightning strike with fire and lightning.
Yeah, his
His
roar made
roar-
no sense.
I didn't even get like I said, the other one was cool, but I just think it should have been like a dragon incantation that turned into an ancient dragon lightning strike with fire added to it.
Right. Yeah, but I think they were like they probably thought they had Death Lightning, the Red Lightning, and they didn't want to have probably another one that's just the same variation because some people think it's
Maybe it's too
lazy.
strong.
That too, but
Adding the fire and the lightning. Probably scaled too high.
yeah, probably. It would probably be like like anybody early on, it wouldn't be too like crazy, but people are sitting here like me at 420, 480 or some shit, like just
yeah, but
pop
all the
and
same
obliterate everything.
But all the same, Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike can one-shot anybody if you're in the right section of the attack. So I think being too strong isn't the problem. Those are one-shot moves: Death Lightning, Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike.
Right. I'm thinking lightning plus fire lightning, I think they were probably looking at not as a PvP perspective, but probably a PvE because I bet you there's probably certain enemies that would just pop like a balloon.
Yeah.
Alright, my last question I have. What boss was way easier that you heard the community complain about? So first of all, we should probably establish what the what they had complained about. And obviously there was they not everything. There was like nobody ever complained about the hippo and stuff like that. But I mean like the main big ones, which was I don't know if people complained about the frenzied lightning, the frenzied guy. Somebody probably did. He was just a cool ass boss.
He was the coolest visual boss I've ever seen. The way he leans back and walks towards you as he does his frenzied flame attack, that was perfectly executed.
Yeah, in all honesty, I think the like Radon was definitely challenging. He was if you fight him solo, he's probably hell in a handbasket. But speaking from actually bringing people in, one that I think people probably complained about that I think was way easier was Mesmer. Mesmer was not even remotely as hard as people were making out to seem. Even you were, I think even you had warned me before we even started that people did not like him. He was so easy. We killed him like what? It was a like
second try on mine.
Second try on yours, like
took 4 or 5.
Yeah, on mine, and it didn't take too many. It was just happened to be either doing something stupid or ended up missed timing. So it wasn't that he was hard; it was just our own fault.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing with it, was that it was mainly our fault for why we had died to Mesmer. He was probably one of the more fair ones for having some of the more crazy attacks, to be honest.
Yeah, I really liked him. I mean, the way... Now that would have been a cool spell too, is not only to get his fire orb, but what if there was some sort of... something similar to with the dragon heads, where the serpent would come out and smack down with a fireball? That would have been dope. Because his serpent attack was so cool.
So... yeah, so I think one final question, I just thought of this. What is your favorite boss weapon to come out of? I've got 2, to be honest, and they're both in my hands.
Favorite boss weapon?
There was a lot of cool boss weapons. I'm not going to say that,
It's between those 2. I mean, I consider it to be the same thing, even though it's not. It's not technically the same thing. Which one did you get that
one from?
This is from that one mage that teleports and then drops the fat guy on your head.
Oh yeah.
Pretty sure this is from that, but he just drops it. It's not technically a boss weapon.
Oh, so
but I kind of consider it to be the same weapon as this, even though it's not the same thing.
All right.
I just kind of consider it to be the same.
For me, obviously, it's the Madness Guy's poker because it's just broken. This thing's just fun.
That's my favorite thing to mess around with people in the DLC.
Oh yeah, people don't like that.
The sword could land right here, and it's gonna grab you in. It's probably gonna get nerfed eventually.
Yeah. I don't think it will because it's kind of your fault to get caught with it.
I don't think damage-wise it's gonna get nerfed.
Probably, I don't even think...
It's gonna get fixed, I guess, is what I should say. Because, like, I have a video on my channel where I grab two people at the same time. And then once the move is done, these guys back up and heal and then start walking towards me again, and I do it again. Like twice in a row, grab both these guys together. I
They
don't think
might
that's
make
how
it
it's
where
supposed to
at
work.
most
They
you
might
only
fix
hit one
that.
person at a time, but yeah, they wouldn't
Yeah.
change much with it. But you see the thing in my hand right here, the staff.
Yeah.
This is the essentially the the like finger ladies thing.
Yeah.
Because I chose this over the ink because of one thing. So this is a staff move, right?
Yeah.
And then we know this.
So it does both.
Yeah, it allows you to. So I'm gonna read off what it says, right? So. So it says. It says staff fashioned from the tail fingers of Meteor, the mother of fingers. It says, and the microcosm raised aloft over the crux they form. Catalyst for casting both sorceries and incantations. So, it's very good to have, but the only time I don't use it is if I'm doing madness. I switch to the madness hand to, so it actually can increase the damage more.
Well,
scales.
keep in mind that if you have whatever you're casting with in one hand and the thing that buffs it in the other hand, it still buffs if you're not casting with it. So if you have the madness seal in your left hand and that staff in your right hand, it'll still boost your frenzy attacks.
So is that what happens? Does that count if you like dual-handed or only if it's on one hand? If you dual-hand it, and you still
Only
have
I mean, you could like, see, so I have both equipped. I can two-hand the Erdtree seal. I'm still gonna get that buff because it's still in my offhand. But if I do this and have the buckler on my offhand, I don't get that bonus. That's why I always switch to this when I'm using lightning.
I was just meaning because I've got the matting hand right here and the madness one, then I equip it, and I've still got the one. Essentially, like it gives me two fists, but it's not. It's just in like I guess put away or whatever, but it's still,
Yeah, I mean that would still work, yeah. But I'm talking like if you have it in your offhand from that staff, it'll still give you that boost.
Right. Yeah, this pretty much I would say boost prime everything except for the madness attack. So
You want to end it off with some PvP?
Yeah, we'll end it off with a fight, I guess.
There's one condition.
Well,
you have to drink all your red Estus.
Now we gotta go. Okay. Alrighty. And to review off with PvP.
I don't want to shake your hand. I like that this thing has some decent damage on it too. It's really scary when that thing's coming at you.
Oh shit, never got it to that.
That move does hurt. And it does track pretty well.
Gotcha.
Oh no. Oh, I was like, I'm still alive.
I was gonna say, man, what the heck? The thing usually just dang near one shots people. I've one shot people before with that thing.
I've yet to one shot anybody, but man, it does like 13 to 1600 damage if you.
Overall, what do you think you would give the DLC in terms of a rating? Oh yeah, I didn't even explain my thing like uh with the story though. That is one thing I would change. It just the consort thing's freaking weird. I'm
Well,
just
when you
stating that.
break it down, it's not weird because it's not a relationship kind of thing. It's like Mikola needs a consort in order for Mikola to be a god. That's the whole thing with the main character. Now that I think about it, is first thing you get told is you don't have a maiden, and if
It's
you don't have a
still
maiden, you
I
can't
know
be Elden Lord.
it's just kind of when you don't look into
It's a little
everything,
strange.
it's still
Like
strange.
at first I was like, this is some
It's
weird stuff
strange as
going
all
on.
heck
But by
that
the end I was like, okay, I guess I understand. Still a little strange, but
it
it's
is.
it's it's replayable, I'll say.
Overall, I think I would give the DLC in terms of as it sits right now. I
I
with the
give it
things I don't.
8 of 10 Scadutree fragments.
Yeah, I gotta give it. It's probably about an 8 out of 10. They could have done a little bit better. You know, but some people I know they didn't like it, and people were claiming the game was too hard. Even some of the high end, people like, I get it. We did use some cheese strategies, but I'm not gonna say that that's a valid argument because it is in the game and we are
Yeah.
allowed to use it. So that is not a valid argument for anybody trying to say, oh, well, you used bleed against Bale. It's like, okay, well, if they didn't want
Yeah,
me to
and you
use
use
bleed,
bleed
I
against
wouldn't
me in PvP. So
have.
what's the
Right.
difference?
It's like you can't really complain the way somebody beat a boss and then said the game was easy or hard. Like I get it if somebody was just, only using magic the whole time. Like Bale was definitely hard, but we were way under leveled. We probably could have, if we came back near
Well,
the
he'd have
end
been
where
so
you're
much easier.
supposed to, we probably could have blown Bale apart.
It'd have been real easy, but
But yeah, it's definitely an 8 out of 10, for a DLC. It was definitely worth the $40 because it was a lot of time to be put into
a
the
lot of
game.
content.
And there's still, we didn't even get everything. We still got a
There's still
lot
things
left to
that,
do.
yeah, still things I haven't grabbed yet, and I just know
Like
about them.
I did two. I had done two different bosses that he hasn't done after the everything was done. Because I said that after I did that, this was the only thing that was coming out, and then PvP shorts for and stuff like just PvP stuff for Elden Ring. But I'm gonna be honest, still a good game. You know, it's sad that it's going to be the only DLC. That is my other big thing that I'm just kind of disappointed in. I think it'd be cool if they did another thing like Shadow of the Erdtree, but with some other type of boss. It'd be cool
Right.
if they did it for something like Rykard, or they had a DLC for every one of the essentially a shadow version or something else for each different type of
Well,
boss. Add some different story or something to it. You
it
know,
would be cool to see. I think because with the story that they added with the DLC, I think the story of Elden Ring is pretty much completed. Because when you really insert the DLC where it's supposed to be, you kill. You basically do everything except for kill the fire giant. So you would do everything except for kill the fire giant. Then you go kill Moog, complete the DLC because I guess you realize what's going on and you go over there to put a stop to it. And then uh, once you kill Radon and that weird stuff going on, then you come back, kill the fire giant, kill Malakath, and become Elden Lord after you beat the Elden Beast with no other competing source in the world. Because if you add that along with Ronnie's quest line, then you're essentially, whether you become a god, because you're Ronnie's consort, don't forget that at that point. So whether you become a god or you're just married to the god, you don't really have nothing to worry about as Elden Lord. So that
Right.
completes the story of Elden Ring. You are Elden Lord. There's no mysterious forces that are left to take you out because you done killed them all already.
See, what I
So
think
that
would have been cool though is like if they came out with another DLC where it would essentially they could do it be something after, and they could write the story like right in like that where you had to make a new character, uh, and essentially make because games have done this before where it's like essentially you're gonna be a brand new character or some type of already previously known character that was left alive that wants to take revenge on you, where your main character would be the final boss, and then after that, everything you collected through that, you would gain it all on your main character. Like it'd just be,
oh yeah,
I think they could, it would be cool if they could do more because the the way Elden Ring is and all that, it's very cool, and I don't think we're gonna be getting another Souls-like or Elden Ring game for quite a while.
yeah, probably
So
not. But what I was gonna throw in there was it'd be cool to see some sort of DLC. It'd probably be a lot smaller, but figure out where the hell Godfrey went. Godfrey disappeared from the entire game, and well, technically, if you've seen the video, he's at the very base of the Erdtree, way underneath the game, waiting for you to show up. But to see something where after he gets banished, like you can go to that area, and maybe he's just a NPC that you talk to at the time or something, or maybe you fight him for
you
his
know what'd be
respect.
cool, actually? Make it where he's an NPC where he tells you out, he's in this new area where you have to go out and he tells you which bosses to take out. And then, he would be the final boss because he was essentially using you to power himself up, and then you have to kill him
Well,
again.
that wouldn't fit because you fight him at the Erdtree. But what I would say is if he was like maybe you fight through this new area and there's some bosses and then you fight him just as like a respect thing because you're basically competing against him to be Elden Lord, and that's essentially how he greets you at the end of the game. It's like, you're really strong. I can see that you got what it takes, but now I have to kill you. So it's not that he hates you, but I think fighting
Well,
him
that
for his respect and then in
that
some way
wasn't
and
what
then
I was
going
meaning
back when
for
he
hate.
shows
It
up.
it was using you for to gain power. Essentially, this would
Right,
be
but
something that
to
would
do
happen
that and then
after.
fight him there and then go back to the Erdtree,
Well,
because
they can do some weird, tomfoolery where, you touch something, there's some type of area that puts you forward in time or something,
or
or
I
after you
guess
everything.
you could do it like that if you added him as the Gold Phantom like he is when you fight him that one time. If you fight him
Right.
the first time, he's a Gold Phantom. Maybe you go to this new land and everybody's a Gold Phantom, and you can't touch them. Like they're safe in this land, unless
Kind of like the opposite of this area where everybody's shadow, where
yeah,
it's a.
exactly,
See, that would be
exactly.
cool. Like they could, having that you've got the shadow part, now you've got like this holy area or whatever that
Yeah,
is considered. Like it would be cool. It would allow them to do a lot more. I think they could do a lot more. I don't think that, one DLC is enough for this game because I think Elden
or
Ring is definitely good and well worth it.
I
But at
think
the
what they should have had is another ending from this DLC,
yes, it
a new ending.
essentially brings in a new type of ending that you can get for doing the DLC first, and
Yeah,
I think it should have been cool to add a couple, like,
like
because of Bale and all that.
what if you actually killed the Elden Beast, and then uh you go over to the Land of Shadows, play through that, and because you're following Mika the whole time, and then once Mikola's done with her story, she actually resurrects Radahn within the Erdtree, and you'd have to go back and fight him there, uh, and then end the game there. That would have been cool, rather than having a completely separate area. Because when you end the DLC, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was not thoroughly impressed with the ending. I mean, there was
Right.
a cutscene at the end, but like Like, what the hell, man?
Well,
Like,
yeah, the
I should have
cutscene was
ascended to
terrible.
godhood or something there. Like, there
Well,
should have been some sort of scene involving the player
well,
rather
it's like,
than a flashback of Mikola. We should have seen that flashback a little
yeah,
earlier,
at the
like
start,
before the
it's,
fight.
it was a good DLC with a lackluster ending, is what
Yep.
I'm gonna put it as. It straight up was just a terrible ending to, and I don't care what anybody says, the ending was, it did not feel like a good ending. You're sitting there, thinking, okay, is there supposed to be anything else? Because why is it just, you did this just like, it applies before. It's like, so why wasn't Mikola, why is it just, oh, hey, I'm on the back of Radon? It's not like, it would have been even cooler if they were laying there on the ground, and you know
It said
you end up
something.
walking up and having to strike them down for the final thing. Even as just a cinematic, kind of fu to the character.
Yeah.
Something cool. It's like, oh, hey, I killed Radon. Ooh, but ball of light. And then it's just, hey, it's a guy that looks like a chick that's explaining to Radon that's already dead in a flashback.
Yeah.
It's like, what? It wasn't, the ending was not worth the fight for with Radon. It really wasn't. Like, isn't
You should have at
nobody's.
least like walked up to between the big ass things at the back of the arena and grabbed an item or something at
It should have
least.
been, yeah, it should have been a cool ending where even if the way you went back, it showed you walking down this area into the light that would take you back out of the DLC or something. Like something, cooler than, hey, I'm gonna go into a cutscene and then you get this crappy ass crown.
Yeah.
Because the crown was crappy, let's be honest. The ending was not executed well, and I am disappointed because of, like, FromSoft has done way better. Good example, Dark Souls 1, phenomenal. Hey, it was a difficult boss and it was, great ending, but it just, I don't know, to me it seemed like something was rushed here because it just didn't feel good for an ending.
Yeah. But we are at an hour, so let's go ahead and wrap
Yeah.
this up. Thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it. That's just been our little review slash discussion about the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, and we'll see you next time.